talk a little bit about your family, where you lived and where you grew up, and your sister Jean.
Well, yeah, I was born in '33, and so I was always on the dock, tagging around, and I always tagged around after my father. When I was on the dock, always trying to see what's going on, trying to stay out of the way, and often backed up, and I've been told that I've been fished out of the water 3 or 4 times in one day. I remember I sort of grew up with a 22-foot, like 26-foot, 1928 Chris Craft. And that's where I learned how to drive a powerboat, probably 5 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
My sister was born in 1928, Christmas Eve. And my sister was going to school in Fluvanna, which was 1 through 6. For the most part, we lived across the road on Fluvanna Avenue, just outside Jamestown. At that time, we were staying here in September's, and then mid-May through the rest of the summer. So I started kindergarten here, and then I rode the bus because I was just outside this. We lived just outside the city in the Demus Point School District. So I rode the bus in kindergarten. In those days, it was a full day. So I can't remember another kid riding a bus of my age. I was usually the last one out on the bus in the morning, but at night the bus would turn up Strunk Road, go over Moon Road, go all the way up West Oak Hill Road, turn around, and come down.
The whole township.
Come down through the city, and then drop me off.
You got within a half a mile and then had to go 4, right?
Yeah. There were 3 of us that were in competition all the time, friendly competition. We were all good friends. We've been together since kindergarten. Dave Dorman Jr.
Remember Ambrose?
Oh, yeah.
and Warren Powell.
Oh, yes.
And myself. So we always competed friendly-wise, whether it was grades or for sports. And we were fortunate here, so it ended up, all 3 of us were valedictorians. I for Demus Point.
In that while.
Dave was for Cherry Creek, and Warren was Johnson City.
Okay.
I was born in '33, started school in '38. Okay, I graduated in '51.
You graduated in 51.
Everybody wanted to know where I was going to go to college. I mean, my sister had gone to Cornell. But anyway, there was a story in the article in the Saturday Evening Post about a place called Webb Institute of Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering in Glen Cove, Long Island. And so I applied for that, and that's where I went to school, and that's where I got my degree. Yes, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering. And we had a 10-week work period each January, February, and into March, where we went out into industry and worked so that we could see what we wanted to do. The freshman year, I was at an apprentice program in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, welding and machine work. Sophomore year, we were called engine cadets on board a merchant ship. 2 of us went to Germany twice. Junior year, I worked at Chris Craft in the Algonac on their production line, and helped make the first, I think it was a 34-foot boat. I initially was working on a 52-foot doing the setup and planking of that. Senior year, I worked at Bethlehem Steel Shipbuilding in Quincy, Mass, outside of Boston. And they were designing and going to build a ship for race lines. That's where I quickly learned that I was not going to stay in an office for the rest of my life. So, during all the time that I was in college, the draft board was breathing down my neck. And while we were at the Boston area, applied for officer candidate school, and ended up, I graduated on Saturday, in the first week in July, and went to officer candidate school in Newport the next day. Got out of officer candidate school in November, went to 10 weeks of training at Treasure Island in California for damage control and for what was at that time called ABC school, which was Atomic, Biological, and Chemical school. Then I went to San Diego to landing ship dock, which is about a 435-foot floating dry dock, self-propelled floating dry dock, you might say. My sister was in New York initially at the same time that I was at Webb Institute out at Glen Cove, Long Island. So, and especially the first year when I was at the shipyard in Brooklyn, I would go up to her apartment over the weekends. When I went in the Navy, she, about halfway through there, she developed mononucleosis. And she had to give up her job, but she came home in the summer times, and so she worked here at LSO Marine. Went back to New York doing consulting work in the wintertime and here in the summertime, and probably somewhere around 72 or so, she was here full time. I'm just sorry that my dad, my mother, and especially my sister didn't see this come about.
Yeah.
My sister was the artistic side of things. She would have been able to do a lot of things and setting it up. Many of the things that we have are things that she collected. She had been photography curator down at the Fenton for several years. But things like the anchor display that we have, the patent anchors, many of the photos of this area, this piece of property, and of the various boats she had collected. Yeah, my only regret is that they did not see this happen.
Do you think there could have been an inkling of any sorts back then, Dave?
Well, I often think that my sister had that in mind.